got the mic because I can't just stay in one place. First, I want to congratulate Freire and the whole team for organizing this, and thank you for the invite. It's a pleasure being here to share the theme about sustainable raw materials and chemical recycling. And before getting into this theme, it's important to talk about the scenario. So, this first graph that I bring shows that since 1973, we as a planet, human beings, we have consumed more resources than the country is capable of regenerating and producing, which makes it obvious that we are using more planets than we have, and we are having a lack of resources in many regions. If we don't change this way of consumption, the trend that we have is having even higher lack of products. And this will impact the industry when we're talking about, for example, a rich resource like water. And we see a lack of resources in many places. Also, climate changes. And it's a reality that we are going through here in Sao Paulo with this drought, the pollution, the burnings, everything that we went through in Rio Grande do Sul, also Manaus with this drought, this logistics issue, the challenge that we have for human beings, its impacts, but also to the industry itself. So the more emissions and the more changes we have, we can see the impact on different regions. And Brazil is part of it, and it also suffers this impact. My colleagues came here before, mentioned how much plastic has brought positive impacts on both aspects to reduce emissions in its many applications. Professor Cassia mentioned it, showing how much opportunity of reducing emissions we have. Even in the short-term packagings, we can extend the life of the food. So we avoid emissions that will be much higher. And Chris commented here how many benefits that can actually bring. So I bring the point of how important this is, increase in production. We're talking about 400 million tons globally, but also the challenges when we look at percentile, only 9% of mechanical recycling. So we have a huge opportunity to use our resources. We talk about lack of resources of plastic, and it is a solution to return to the productive process and avoid the need for new resources. So it's important to highlight here in this graph that the highest volume when we talk about recycling worldwide these days is mechanical recycling. Chemical recycling has a small percentile, and we have renewable solutions that also represent in percentile a smaller percentile, which gives us opportunity to have more sustainable solutions, and we look at this percentile. So here also I bring this production issue when there's an important concentration in Asia. So 32% happens just in China. And when we look at 39 million of tons that are recycled in the world, 24% is in China. This is not the recycling index in China. It has 32% of all global production and only 24% of recycled products. So we have an important challenge to increase the use and reutilization of the residue and the waste to generate more recycled products. Looking at Europe and the European Union, this data has changed a bit, their methodology is changing, but it's important to see that even in the European Union, where we talk about collection structure that is more advanced, we're talking about 35% recycling. So we have the opportunity to recover even more, as a large part of it is being burned, incinerated in many EU countries. The collection and destination system in Brazil, we have a complexity in terms of generation, but a huge opportunity, although the indexes that have been shared here. The last one we had was 25%, 1 million tons of materials, 1.1 million of recycled materials. We have 3 million tons of plastics going to the landfills. A huge opportunity for the sector to use more recycled materials and develop technologies for recovery. The challenge, of course, that is an issue of collection that we need to deal with to increase the waste capacity as we have capacity to produce recycled products. The recovered volume, so when we say we produce 1.1 million of recycled material, what we recovered 1.7 because there are losses in the process. What I wanted to highlight, we saw here in the material the recycling indexes are different per type of material, and we have a big challenge when we look here, especially at the flexible ones. So we have an opportunity of broadening recovery, and it's in this context that I'm going to go in deeper about chemical recycling. So, talking specifically about the theme of my presentation and talking about the importance of circular economy that tries to use less resources, reuse, maintain value, generate less emissions, that are aligned with our main concerns, Braskem has positioned itself that things that come the collaboration, it's important to think about this. Gustavo mentioned if we don't have the same purpose, we are not going to reach this. We have been working with the clients for designing product using recyclable materials, the engagement of consumers, both businesses, the business within Braskem, the mechanical one, and turning into resins, and also raw materials to substitute the fossil fuels materials by using the production of oil through plastic residue. So when we look at that, the raw material, we've been developing a high volume is of fossil fuels. As you've seen, the majority of products are produced with fossils, also from ethanol, from sugarcane. It's a Brazilian company developing this, the biggest producer in the world. And we've also been broadening and applying new raw materials, biocircular from renewable sources, and also coming from residues. For example, cooking oil as a raw material to produce oils that we can use within our operations. For all of that and for so many actions, we have the renew cycle that includes design, education. I'm going to focus on circular products, also technology, because there's a correlation with alternative raw materials and chemical recycling. So, the portfolio of sustainable solutions. We talked before about this, how much of a challenge we have as a community, as a human being, that the wrong destination of waste has a lot to do with behavior. So we, as people, we have to be an agent for change, wherever we may be, in the company, in our family. But it's important to highlight the responsibility of the industry. Many people here are from the industry. We can't accept that the problem is only someone else's. We have our own responsibility And we have to offer sustainable solutions and try to recover more materials, create demand, solutions so that this can truly happen. If we only have collection, as we've seen in Europe, now established collection infrastructure, the government has to act. There's more education and there's separation, and the highest volume is being incinerated. So we're not taking advantage of these resources for them to become new products. So what we're seeking, and we've presented the portfolio to our clients, we have bio-based, based on ethanol, sugarcane, I am green, that has an objective capture CO2 and addresses climate changes. Solutions for raw materials. I'll let you know a bit more what are these renewable sources that we use mass balance. And this whole side of circularity, mechanic recycling, we have to broaden this and have we have new no carbon and the raw material coming from chemical recycling and the circular solutions that we have solvents and also caustic circular. This is an important point to have a transformation and start a circular economy. You have to have that in the company and it has to be transversal. So for all your products, you have to seek for solutions, for renewable solutions, also for recycling. Here are some applications, especially with mechanical recycling for polypropylene, polyethylene, PVA, PVC, also for chemicals. When we talk about diversifying technology, we have a big challenge. We know the amount of plastic we have, different plastics, different applications, so it is important. We're not going to have just one solution. We have mechanical recycling, and we put here some Braskem initiatives. Once, when we bought the recycling company, the objective was to broaden the capacity and having the differential, and also with capacity, also solution technology using solvents and to bring more quality to the recycled product with applications. And here we are developing with TNO. On the other hand, we have technologies that are long term and will capture CO2 and turn it into new products. So when we get to that stage, we're talking about long term, but we address even more emissions with partnering with universities, also with USP here in Brazil. I will detail our partnerships with chemical recycling for my presentation, and we continue evaluating internally as well. And to tell you what this mass balance and different sources. So we have bio and circular. So bio comes from renewable solutions, from renewable sources, and circular from processes of waste recovery. Then we have segregation. I have a specific production process as we have when we produce I'm green, ethanol, the polyethylene, and the combination of mass and going through the plant, the raw material, and it's combined with fossil in the same system, so you're not able to identify at the end what product received that percentual of renewables or recycled. That's why you have the mass balance certified to a third party and to certify the balance that came from renewable source and how much product with that content I can sell.
So you entered 100 products and raw product of renewable sources to sell 100 because we take some loss out of this percentage. but 100 of some of the products that I have in my portfolio that are exactly the same, that are similar to fossil in terms of characteristic, but that can be identified with a circular or renewable material. And then we have the controlled blend, which happens a lot when you combine a percentage of fossil with the percentage of recycled. And then you have a final product with a determined percentage of recycled content. And finally, like I mentioned, the use of the combination of residue and renewable source. What is the ISCC? It is a global institution. It certifies several companies, and with these principles of biodiversity and best agricultural practices, safe working conditions, compliance with human and labor rights, compliance with international laws and treaties, and good management practices and continuous improvement. Here we use our plants of ISCC Plus that are from both a circular source and renewable source, and the others are are certifications more focused on the European Union related to fuel. So the objective is to bring traceability, so this is very important. Those that are from the chain, from source, if we buy from somebody certified, we have the certification of this volume, and if you those that acquire have also to be certified. So the idea is to reduce the fossil input, and when we talk about dropping, it's just the same, the characteristics of resin produced with fossil raw materials, several applications, and more than 280 companies that are already member of ISCC. Here I'm going to share some examples of announcements that we have made. But we have, for example, a partnership with Nexus. So we have a partnership with Shell to produce our propane raw material. So we have circular input. The same way in Europe, when we have the partnership with Vital, WPU, and Shell, we don't have the cracker, which is our unit that produces chemicals to receive naphtha. We receive naphtha here, and there we have our partners to provide our local input, ibuprofen. And in Brazil, we have a huge number of those that use our inputs. And what we're doing currently is offering our clients this so that we can develop the market and national demand, which is to bring biocircular naphtha, just as a circular naphtha, and what we already import fossil, and we have been both importing biocircular input and circular input in the national market. So the objective is to bring demand and bring opportunities for us to improve this in the region. So sharing the partnerships, we always talk about partnership. So both from the point of view of chemical recycling, as we are talking about Vital, Nexus, Wise, Shell, Alcamari. So different ways of, I think that when we talk about circular economy, we need to think about the partnerships. So also with the consortium of other companies that may be competitors, but that also have the same objective to accelerate and develop open innovation, developments with universities, and off-taking contracts that I have already mentioned, and our own development when we talk about producing directly through residue, so then you don't have to go back at naphtha, but you can go back with zetine and propene, and looking at other technologies such as microwave So catalytic, so that we can accelerate new technologies with the objective of recovering even more material. And now, a little closer to the end of my presentation, we talk about the importance of the regulatory issue. This is a mark that happened this year after 2 years of a lot of effort together with the chain, with the network, with the Abiquim, in search of the clear understanding of Anvisa of the use of these raw materials that are coming from plastic in the use in contact with food. Because from the technical point of view, there were no doubt, no questioning from the owners of the brands, because this solution has already been sold in other countries, in the United States, in Europe. But the idea is to go through all the process, balancing the mass, and then you have the same solution. But our clients and the clients of our clients, they needed discomfort, so there wouldn't have any questioning from the agency. So we needed to prove how the current legislation addresses and provides safety, security to companies and people, so there wouldn't be the need for a new legislation, and explaining that Anvisa, the Brazilian regulatory agency, in our relationship directly with Anvisa, wouldn't we would have a proof of that with if we use alternative raw material. In the end we have the same solution, and we could prove that. And why is this important? Because this approach, the creation of demand gives security to make investments in the country, and like you have seen, we were just waiting for a position with this regard. In the same way, like Paulo commented previously, all this discussion of the use of recycled material, packages, and new products that has been discussed at the legislative scope demands more uh, demand and investments to the country. So, keeping this in a productive process and bringing a distinction to the country of having a technological solution here. So, I would like to thank all everybody's attention, and I'll be here for the final debate. If you have any questions, thank you. Thank you, Fabiana, to conduct to give the plate, the thank you plate. I invite to the stage Riscardo de Souza. So thank you, Fabiana. Thank you, Giscardi.